Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. In a world that is always loud, always pushing, pulling, screaming, demanding your reaction, you must learn the power of silence. Not every noise deserves your attention. Not every insult needs a reply. Not every invitation to chaos deserves your energy. Be silent, because the loudest one in the room is often the weakest. And the one who controls his tongue controls the battlefield. You think power is found in screaming. You think strength is measured in arguments won. No. Power is restraint. Strength is choosing not to react. Even when you're burning inside, be still. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them fear what they cannot read. Because silence, it confuses the arrogant and empowers the focused. You don't need to broadcast your goals. You don't need to explain your moves. The wind never explains itself. It just moves, silently, powerfully, and it changes everything in its path. When you talk too much, you leak energy. You explain your dreams to people who never dreamed. You justify your pain to people who never hurt. You seek approval from people who don't even know who they are. Be silent. Let your actions introduce you. Let your discipline speak for you. Let your transformation shock them. The tiger doesn't roar when it hunts. It waits, still, invisible, and when it strikes, there's no second chance. You want respect? Be silent. You want focus? Be silent. You want control? Be silent. Because noise is distraction, but silence is strategy. Control your breath. Control your thoughts. Control your tongue. The one who controls himself doesn't need to control others. Be silent when they laugh at you. Be silent when they mock you. Be silent when they say, you can't. Because every time they speak, they reveal who they are. And every time you remain still, you reveal who you're becoming. When the storm comes, don't yell back at the thunder. Stand firm and wait for the calm that follows. Silence isn't weakness. It is wisdom. It is preparation. It is transformation. You were not made to bark with the dogs. You were made to walk with the wolves. And wolves move in silence. So next time the world tries to provoke you, tempt you, distract you, remember this: be silent. Because your silence is your sharpest sword. Silence is strength. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, where everyone is shouting over each other, just to prove a point, to be silent is to be powerful. When you master the art of holding your tongue, you hold something far greater than words. You hold presence. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a truly powerful person yelling to be respected? True power doesn't need to announce itself. A lion doesn't roar before it attacks. It studies, observes, waits, and then when it's time, it moves with precision, not noise. Every day you're given opportunities to speak when you shouldn't. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Someone gossips about you. Someone disrespects you. Your ego screams to react. It demands you reply, shout, fight back. Show them you're not weak. But responding with silence, that's control. That's a strength few people have. Most people think silence means you have nothing to say. But in truth, silence often means you have too much wisdom to waste it on the ignorant. Not everyone deserves an answer. Not every insult needs a reply. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is let people hear the echo of their own stupidity in the silence you leave behind. Imagine a heated argument. One person is yelling, pacing back and forth, flailing their arms. The other calm, collected, silent. Who do you think holds the power in that moment? The one who controls himself. because the one who controls himself controls the situation. They're not emotionally hijacked. They're not owned by rage. They are present, rooted, immovable. Look at the most disciplined people in life. Great leaders, martial artists, monks, warriors. They don't speak much. Why? Because they don't need to. Their energy speaks louder than their voice ever could. And their silence commands more respect than 1,000 speeches. In your daily life, you're tempted to explain yourself constantly. You post everything you do. You justify your every move to people who don't even care. But ask yourself, why? What do you gain by shouting your progress into the void? When you truly believe in your path, you don't need to advertise it. You become the proof. Your silence becomes the thunder that follows your footsteps. Remember the times you've told someone your dream and they laughed. You were excited, passionate, hopeful, and their smirk cut you down. Their words doubted you. And in that moment, you felt small. But what if you had stayed silent? What if you had built in silence and shocked them with the results instead of defending your vision? Silence protects your dreams. It shields them from the poison of disbelief. It guards your energy from being drained by people who only see limitations. Silence also gives you clarity. When you're silent, you hear more. You notice more. You sense the tension in a room. You feel the intention behind words. You're not rushing to speak, you're absorbing. And that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because while others are reacting, you're understanding. Silence is where patience is born. When you wait for the right moment, you strike with impact. Like a chess player who doesn't rush their move. Like a fighter who waits for the opening. Silence teaches you timing, and in life, timing is everything. The right move at the wrong time is still the wrong move. Silence helps you see the moment when it's truly time to act. People will try to provoke you. They will try to drag you into meaningless arguments, pointless debates, emotional traps. But silence is your shield. When someone insults you and you respond with calm stillness, you take away their power. They expect rage, but you give them nothing. And that nothing, it shakes them. Because silence forces people to face themselves. You become untouchable when you don't let words move you. When your sense of self is not tied to someone's opinion. When you are rooted in your own understanding, you don't waver. Silence gives you that root. It connects you with something deeper, something unshakable. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you are training your mind. You're building a fortress of discipline, of patience, of awareness, and slowly, people around you start to notice. They respect you without even knowing why. Your presence carries weight, not because of what you say, but because of what you don't say. Because when you finally speak, people listen. There's a quiet confidence that comes with silence, a knowing. It says, I don't need to convince you. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. And that kind of confidence, it's rare, it's raw, and it's unstoppable. Because it doesn't need the world's validation. So the next time the world tries to pull you into its noise, remember silence is not your weakness. It's your power. It's the sword you don't have to draw. It's the armor that can't be pierced. It's the fire that burns without making a sound. Silence is strength, and those who master it move mountains without ever raising their voice. Don't react to every noise. Not every sound deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every provocation deserves your energy. The world is full of noise. People talking just to talk, criticizing just to be heard, commenting on things they don't understand, shouting their fears and disguising them as facts. And if you chase every single sound, every single opinion, you will spend your whole life dancing to the chaos around you, instead of leading your own rhythm. Think about how much time you've wasted reacting to things that didn't matter a day later. The random insult on social media, the passive-aggressive comment from a coworker, the judgmental glance from someone in your neighborhood. You let that noise enter your mind, rattle your peace, and pull you out of your focus. And for what? For a moment of fake control. But reacting doesn't give you control. It hands your power over to the one who triggered you. Imagine someone throwing a rock at still water. The moment it hits, the surface shakes, ripples spread everywhere. That's what happens when you react to every little disturbance. Your mind is never calm. Your focus is scattered. Your energy is drained. But what if you let the rock sink without a splash? What if you remained still? When you refuse to react, the disturbance dies alone. Every day, you walk through a world filled with noise. Someone says something negative about you behind your back. Someone questions your dreams. Someone posts something vague online that you know is aimed at you. Your ego wants to fight. Your pride wants to clap back. Your emotions want to speak. But silence is what separates the weak from the wise. Because reacting is easy. Any fool can react. But remaining calm, staying silent, choosing peace over pride, that takes discipline. That takes strength. You have a limited supply of energy each day. You can use it to build your dreams, sharpen your skills, deepen your focus, or you can waste it reacting to the noise around you. Someone cuts you in line, let it go. Someone tries to argue over something petty, walk away. Someone says something to trigger you, smile and stay silent. Because every reaction costs you something. Time, peace, energy, clarity. The question is, was it worth the price? Look at the great achievers in life. They don't have time for noise. They don't react to every critic. They don't stop to explain themselves to doubters. They don't lower themselves to every argument. They're busy building, growing, moving. And that's what you must do. Let the noise happen. Let them talk. Let them assume. Your focus is your weapon. Protect it. In relationships, this lesson becomes even more important. Sometimes the people closest to you will try to push your buttons. Not out of malice, but out of habit. They say something that's meant to hurt you. They bring up the past. They test your patience. And you want to respond. You want to correct, to defend, to win. But winning an argument often means losing your peace. And sometimes silence is the louder message. When you don't react, you force the other person to face themselves, to hear their own words echo without a response. And that silence can change the dynamic more than any clever comeback. Even in your own mind, there is noise. Self-doubt, insecurity, fear. Your thoughts try to drag you into panic, into overthinking, into spirals of imaginary arguments and worst-case scenarios. You must not react. You must breathe. Observe the thought. Let it pass like a cloud. Because not every thought deserves your belief. Not every emotion deserves your action. On the journey to greatness, you'll be misunderstood. You'll be judged. You'll be mocked. And if you stop every time someone barks at you, you'll never finish your race. Let people misunderstand you. Let them create their own stories. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your path. You owe yourself the discipline to stay on it. There will be noise in your environment, noise in your relationships, noise in your thoughts. The challenge is not to eliminate the noise, it's to not let it control you. You can't stop people from being loud, but you can stop yourself from being reactive. And that choice, that power, is always in your hands. The next time you feel provoked, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Does this deserve a reaction? Does this serve my peace, my growth, my purpose? 9 out of 10 times, the answer will be no. And when you realize that, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop living at the mercy of others' actions. You stop being dragged into storms that aren't yours to fight. When you stop reacting to every noise, you become more than just calm. You become unstoppable. People can't figure you out. They can't provoke you. They can't manipulate your energy. And that stillness, that unshakable calm, that's where true strength is born. Actions speak louder than words, but more importantly, actions echo in ways that words never can. Anyone can say they're disciplined. Anyone can talk about how they're going to change their life, how they're ready to rise, how they're done with their old habits. But until they act, it's just noise. Words are cheap because they don't require effort. They don't require risk. They don't require discomfort. But action demands that you move through resistance. Action demands that you show up even when no one's clapping. And that's where the real difference is made. You can stand in front of the mirror and repeat affirmations all day, but if you're not taking steps, real, uncomfortable steps, towards the life you say you want, then you're just decorating a prison cell with pretty words. Nothing changes until you do. Not on the surface, not in your bank account, not in your health, not in your relationships. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you do. Look around and you'll see so many people posting quotes, tweeting motivation, preaching discipline, tagging fake grind mode. But what are they doing when the camera's off? What are they doing at 5 a.m. when it's cold and quiet and no one's watching? Are they getting up and chasing their goals? Or are they just talking? Talking is easy. It requires no courage. It makes you feel like you've done something when you've done nothing. And that illusion, that false sense of progress, is dangerous. It tricks you into thinking you're on your way when you haven't even taken the first step. People will write goals in notebooks every January, saying, "This is my year." But what happens in February when the motivation dies and the real work begins? Do you keep going? Or do you talk about trying again next year? There's a quiet power in action. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't beg for validation. It doesn't need to be seen. It just moves, step by step, consistently, with or without applause. Think of the person who says nothing about their goals, but wakes up early, trains hard, learns every day, and shows up with focus. That person is a threat. Because they're not performing for the world. They're building something real. Actions carve identity. If you want to be a writer, write. Don't talk about writing. If you want to be strong, train. Don't just talk about training. If you want to build a business, start it. Don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect conditions. Start messy. Start scared. Start tired. But start. Because talking doesn't change your story. Movement does. Think of a friend who always says, I'm going to start working out. You hear it every week. But months go by and nothing changes. Now imagine another friend who says nothing. But you notice they're a little leaner, a little stronger, a little more focused every time you meet. That's the difference. One is speaking. The other is transforming. One is dreaming out loud. The other is building silently. It's not that words have no value. Words can inspire, guide, connect. But they should be the fire starter, not the fire. They're the match. The flame is in your hands, your sweat, your daily discipline. Words without action are like a sword with no edge. Dramatic but useless. Daily life gives you countless chances to act. You're tired, but you've got time to do 10 push-ups. Act. You're broke, but you can learn a new skill for free online. Act. You're hurt, but you can choose to forgive and free yourself. Act. These are the moments that separate the dreamers from the doers. You want to prove who you are. Don't tell them. Show them. Let your work introduce you before your words ever have to. Let your consistency be your language. Let your results speak for you. And if no one's watching, even better. Because what you do in silence becomes your strength in public. Most people want to be seen starting. They want credit for trying. But the ones who go far, they're too busy doing the work to worry about credit. They know the real reward is becoming the kind of person who acts, no matter how they feel. Every moment you hesitate, someone else is out there taking action. While you're talking about your next move, they've already made theirs. While you're explaining why you haven't started, they're failing, learning, and growing. Success isn't complicated. It's just not convenient. It's not loud. It's not glamorous. It's built quietly in the dark by people who do more than they say. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to post about your grind. You don't have to convince anyone of your greatness. You just have to show up. Again and again and again. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. So let the world talk. Let them make noise. Let them doubt. Your power is not in what you say. Your power is in what you do when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's lonely. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is action, always. Silence disarms the arrogant in ways that words never could. When a proud man shouts, when he puffs his chest, waiting for applause or validation, what he truly fears is being met with nothing, no argument, no reaction, just calm, just presence. The arrogant thrive on opposition because it gives them something to push against. When you give them silence, you take away their battlefield. They swing wildly, but their blows land on emptiness, and that drives them mad. Imagine someone insulting you in a crowd, expecting you to shout back, to lose control, to give them power. But you don't. You just look at them, not with fear, not with hatred, but with stillness. And then you turn away. You walk. You continue. In that moment, you become untouchable. Not because you couldn't speak, but because you chose not to. Silence is not weakness. It's strength under control. It is knowing that your value is not up for debate. In daily life, this shows up more often than we realize. At work, when someone tries to belittle your effort, hoping to drag you into a verbal fight, you say nothing. Not out of submission, but out of discipline. Because you know your work speaks for you. In relationships, when someone pushes your buttons, trying to provoke you into breaking character, you breathe. You hold. Not because you're afraid to fight, but because you're wise enough to choose your battles. There's a scene that plays out in almost every family, every workplace, every social group. Someone, full of ego, believes their voice matters more than their actions. They interrupt, they dominate, they seek control through volume, and people respond. Some argue, some walk away. But the ones who hold silence, they confuse the arrogant. They make them uncomfortable, because silence is not what the proud expect. They expect submission or confrontation, but silence gives them neither. True silence is not about keeping your mouth shut. It's about knowing when your voice is not necessary. It's the art of restraint in a world that mistakes loudness for power. It's standing your ground without making a sound. It's letting fools expose themselves while you stay grounded in peace. Silence is like a mirror. It reflects the other person's energy back to them. If they bring chaos, all they see is themselves. And that's what they can't stand. A man who's secure does not argue with fools. He lets their noise fade into the background like static. He understands that time proves more than shouting ever will. The arrogant may win in the moment, but the silent win in the long game. Their energy goes into building, not barking, into creating, not confronting, and slowly the world notices. You see this in the gym, the loud one boasting about how much weight he can lift, drawing eyes, seeking praise. But there's another guy in the corner, headphones on, no flexing, no talking, just reps, just consistency. Fast forward 6 months, and that quiet guy has transformed, not just his body, but his focus. And now everyone watches him, not because he asked for attention, but because he earned it. Silence becomes presence. You see it in the streets. 2 people arguing, voices raised, faces red. Then one walks away, silent, controlled, and the other one is left yelling into the wind, frustrated, powerless. Because you can't dominate someone who won't give you the reaction you crave. You can't shake someone whose peace is stronger than your chaos. Some of the most powerful people in the world move in silence. They don't announce their plans. They don't argue with critics. They don't prove anything with words. They prove it with results. They let their silence become a storm, calm on the outside, but unstoppable underneath. And the arrogant, who thought they were loud enough to win, are left speechless. There's a wisdom in silence that ego will never understand. Ego says, speak so they know who you are. Silence says, be so real they feel you, even when you say nothing. Ego needs to be right. Silence doesn't care about being right. It cares about being aligned, focused, and unbothered. Ego reacts. Silence reflects. Ego wants to win now. Silence builds so it never has to chase a win. In arguments, in stress, in conflict, the one who controls their voice controls the situation. Silence is not retreat. It is a choice to remain grounded when everything is pulling you into the storm. It is looking into the eyes of arrogance and smiling, because you know you've already won. You won by not lowering your vibration. You won by protecting your peace. You won by being bigger than the moment. When you become silent, truly silent, not out of fear, but out of discipline, you become unpredictable. And the arrogant can't fight what they can't read. They don't know how to deal with calm. They expect noise. They expect reaction. But you give them stillness, and that stillness is louder than anything they could scream. It's the sound of power with nothing to prove. Energy leaks through over-talking. Every time you speak without purpose, without intent, you are spending your energy like loose change. And most people don't realize how broke they are because they've never tracked the cost of their own words. They talk and talk and talk, thinking it makes them powerful. But in truth, they're leaking, slowly, silently, wearing themselves out without even touching a task. The mind has a limited bandwidth, and if it's constantly occupied with forming responses, defending opinions, and explaining things no one asked for, you lose clarity, you lose focus, and more than anything, you lose presence. Think of a candle. If you light it in a calm room, it burns steady, it gives light. Now put it in the middle of a storm, winds rushing in from every direction, and the flame flickers, weakens, and dies. Your energy is that flame. Your voice is the wind. Speak too often, speak without control, and you're the one killing your own fire. There's a reason why the sharpest minds are usually the quietest in the room. They aren't withholding their voice out of fear. They're choosing when to let it rise, because they understand that not every question needs an answer, not every insult needs a reply, not every story needs to be told. And when you know that, you stop trying to prove yourself. You conserve, you protect, you build pressure like a storm, so that when you do speak, people feel it. Look around in life. There are people who spend hours on the phone, on texts, in conversations that go nowhere. They argue about politics with strangers online. They explain their every move to people who aren't even listening. And then they wonder why they're tired, unfocused, and emotionally drained. It's not just life that exhausts you. It's your own mouth. You're talking away your strength. Every unnecessary sentence is a withdrawal from your power bank. Imagine a builder. He has 100 bricks to build a wall. Now imagine he throws a brick every time someone passes by, trying to show how strong he is. Before he even lays the foundation, he's already out of material. That's what over-talking does. It feels good in the moment. It feels like action, but it's really just reaction. It's bleeding energy into things that don't matter. Silence isn't just about restraint. It's about direction. When you speak less, you think more. Your words begin to carry weight. You stop seeking validation in noise and start finding identity in purpose. And that scares people. Because when you no longer need to explain yourself, you become unpredictable. They can't read you. They can't pull you into chaos. They can't find your weakness, because you no longer give it away with your words. There was a man who worked in silence every single day, never talked about his plans, never boasted about what he would become. People mocked him, said he was too quiet, too reserved. But every day he showed up. While others debated, he acted. While others argued, he created. And one day his silence became success. The same mouths that once ridiculed him now speak his name with respect. Because when the work speaks, the man doesn't have to. You don't owe the world explanations. You don't owe people your energy just because they ask for it. Protect your focus like it's gold. Because it is. In this world, the one who holds his energy wins. The one who can resist the urge to overtalk keeps his fire burning longer, hotter and more precise. You want to intimidate the room. Don't raise your voice. Lower it. Use it sparingly. Make them lean in when you speak. Make them wonder what you're thinking, because you're not giving it all away for free. Next time you're tempted to explain yourself, to jump into an argument, to defend your position, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this helping me grow? Is this moving me forward? Or am I just throwing bricks into the wind? The mind sharpens in silence. The spirit strengthens in silence. And the body aligns with your mission when your words stop working against you. Even in conversations with yourself. Cut the noise. Overthinking is just over, talking inside your head. Discipline your internal voice. Say only what needs to be said, when it needs to be said, and nothing more. The rest, let it go. Let silence hold it. Energy is sacred. Your voice is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to either. Conserve, preserve, speak with meaning, or don't speak at all, because every word has a price. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your power before you even begin the real fight. Stillness is a weapon. Not many understand this, because the world keeps screaming that action is the only path to power. But the ones who move the world, the ones who shift tides, they know something deeper. They know that silence sharpens the sword. They know that stillness doesn't mean absence. It means presence. It means control. It means you're not reacting to the world is reacting to you. Think of a lion. Not when it's hunting, not when it's roaring. Think of it when it's sitting still, calm, almost asleep. In that moment, it's still the most dangerous thing in the jungle. Why? Because it doesn't need to prove anything. That's what stillness is. It's unshakable self-belief. It's the power of knowing what you are and not wasting energy reminding people of it. People confuse noise with strength. They think if you're loud, you're dominant. If you're busy, you're successful. But the truth is, movement without direction is chaos, and noise without clarity is weakness. In daily life, you see it everywhere. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you react. Someone insults you, you fire back. Someone posts something stupid online, you waste 10 minutes replying. In every one of those moments, you give away your power. Every reaction is a leak in your focus, your purpose, your energy. But if you stayed still, if you observed instead of reacting, you'd begin to see the real game. You'd see how easily people are manipulated, how easily they lose themselves, how desperate they are to be heard, seen, validated. And in that awareness, you become untouchable. There was a man who was building something great, a business, a body, a vision. It doesn't matter what it was. What matters is that every time people tried to distract him, bait him into drama, invite him to speak on things that didn't serve his mission, he remained still. People thought he was cold, arrogant, unapproachable. But what they didn't see was what he was becoming. They didn't see the storm he was building behind the silence. Until one day, what he was building roared louder than anything he could have said. And by then, it was too late for them to catch up. You want to master your life. Master your stillness. When something angers you, don't react. Breathe. Study it. When fear hits you, don't panic. Sit with it. Understand it. When doubt creeps in, don't run. Face it in silence. Stillness doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you do the right thing at the right time without wasting motion. It means you observe every piece of the board before making your move. Because when you move from stillness, it's not random, it's precision. Imagine two fighters. One is wild, throwing punches, moving constantly, shouting, sweating, trying to look tough. The other one stands still, eyes calm, breath steady. Who's in control? Not the one burning energy to intimidate. It's the one holding it all inside, measuring, waiting, striking only when it's necessary. Life is the same. You don't win by being everywhere, saying everything, reacting to every situation. You win by being calculated. You win by understanding that real strength is quiet. Real power is patient. And the most dangerous person in the room is the one who can sit still while everyone else loses their mind. Look at the most successful people, those who've built empires, transformed their bodies, created legacies. They all have one thing in common: stillness. They've trained themselves not to chase every distraction, not to explain every decision, not to engage in every conflict. They've learned to shut the world out when needed and turn their attention inward. Because clarity comes from quiet. And in clarity, you find your path. There's noise everywhere now. Social media, news, opinions, gossip, everyone shouting, everyone demanding attention. And in the middle of all that, the ones who remain still become rare, and what's rare becomes valuable. When you practice stillness, you stop being predictable. You stop being available to every energy that comes your way. You stop being emotionally hijacked by the world. And that's terrifying to people, because they can't control someone who doesn't react. Next time someone challenges you, tempts you, provokes you, don't respond immediately. Pause. Observe. Let the silence make them uncomfortable. Let it reveal who they are, while you stay grounded in who you are. That pause is where your power lies. That moment of stillness is where you separate yourself from the weak, the desperate, the noisy. Stillness is not emptiness, it's full awareness. It's choosing your battles. It's speaking only when your words carry purpose. It's acting only when your actions carry impact. The world tries to rush you. It wants you to react now, decide now, post now, answer now. But when you slow down, when you center yourself, when you refuse to move without intention, you rise above the game they're playing, and suddenly, you're not just in control of yourself. You're in control of the room. Stillness is the birthplace of strategy. It's where you see the patterns others miss. It's where you find strength that doesn't shake, purpose that doesn't break, and clarity that cuts through the noise like a blade. When you master stillness, you no longer chase moments. You become the moment they told you silence was weakness. But what they never understood is that silence is where the storm gathers. Silence is where warriors are born. In the noise, anyone can talk. Anyone can pretend. But in the silence, only truth remains. And the one who can sit in that silence without fear, without fidgeting, without begging for attention, is the one who commands the world without saying a word. You see, power isn't loud. Power doesn't need applause. Power doesn't scream to be noticed. It's the calm breath before the punch. It's the pause before the leap. It's the stare that stops 1,000 words. And if you can master that, if you can sit in your silence and let the world move around you, you've already won a battle most people don't even know exists. The lion never roars while hunting. It moves in silence and strikes without warning. Your journey must be the same. Do the work in silence. Grow in silence. Train when no one's watching. Sacrifice when no one claps. Build in the shadows, so when the time comes, your success doesn't need an introduction. It speaks for itself. Don't waste your energy proving yourself to people who don't even know where they're going. Don't let their noise pull you out of your purpose. Silence isn't passive. It's the art of self-discipline. It's the shield that protects your focus. And when you live with that level of discipline, You become a force that can't be moved. Everyone wants to be heard. Few know how to listen. Everyone wants to react. Few know how to observe. But the most powerful people in the world, they move in silence. And when they speak, the whole world listens, because their words come from experience, not emotion, from understanding, not impulse. You want to become unstoppable, then stop broadcasting every move. Let your silence confuse them. Let your discipline scare them. Let your growth speak in volumes that words never could. Because when you're silent, you're not avoiding the world. You're studying it. You're planning, you're adapting, you're becoming the person they're not ready for. You don't need to shout to be heard. Let your results make the noise. Let your actions echo louder than your words ever could. And when the time is right, let the silence break like thunder. Because when a disciplined soul finally speaks, when a prepared mind finally moves, it's not just action, it's impact. They won't understand your silence. They'll call it arrogance. They'll call it cold. Let them. Because while they're guessing, you're growing. While they're talking, you're building. While they're sleeping, you're mastering your craft. And that's how empires are born. In the dark, in the quiet, brick by brick, moment by moment. In the silence, nobody respects until the result stands tall in front of them. Remember, the most powerful voice is the one that doesn't speak unless it must. The strongest hands are the ones that hold back until the time is right. And the sharpest mind is the one that listens before it strikes. Your silence is your strength. Your stillness is your signal. You're not here to play their game. You're here to master your own. So walk like your footsteps are thunder, even if no one hears them yet. Look like you've already seen the victory, even if no one believes in you yet. Act like the world already belongs to you, because it does. The moment you stop needing its validation, and speak only when your words will move mountains. Because in the end, it's not the loudest that changes the world. It's the most focused, the most disciplined, the most silent. The world doesn't need another noisemaker. It needs someone who walks so quietly that when they finally rise, the earth shifts. Become that person. Sharpen your silence. Own your stillness. And when the moment comes, let your presence do the talking.